Most mistakes ruin reputations. Some others lock doors. England, 1819. The ballroom at Halverton House glittered with candlelight, silk, and carefully measured smiles, but Anna Keller was not meant to be seen among them. She was a seamstress, positioned at the edge of the room, present only to adjust hems and disappear before the music ended. No one had ever asked her to speak. No one had ever wanted her opinion. Then the ambassador misspoke. It was a small error. A single sentence in German, spoken with confidence and understood by too few to challenge it. Anna corrected him without thinking, quietly, instinctively, as she had done her whole life when language mattered more than rank. The music faltered. Conversations died. Across the room, the Duke of Halverton looked up. By the end of the dance, Anna was no longer standing in the shadows of the ballroom. She was being escorted down a silent corridor, the echo of her footsteps louder than the orchestra behind her. The Duke's study door closed. The lock turned, and Anna realized that correcting the wrong words might have uncovered a secret about her that had been buried for decades. Before we go further, drop a comment and let me know. Have you ever witnessed a moment where someone's entire life changed in an instant? And if this hooked you, hit that like and subscribe. This story is just getting started. Anna had learned invisibility young. She learned it the way some children learn pianoforte or embroidery, through repetition and consequence. Her mother had taught her languages, literature, history, mathematics. She had taught her to think critically, to speak precisely, to value knowledge above decoration. But she had also taught her the most important lesson of all. Never let them see what you know. Because women who knew too much disappeared. Her mother had disappeared when Anna was 11. One morning she was there, elegant and composed, correcting Anna's Latin pronunciation over breakfast. The next morning the house was silent. The servants would not meet Anna's eyes. Her mother's belongings were already gone, as though she had never existed at all. Anna never learned why. She learned only to survive the aftermath. So she became a seamstress. Not because she lacked education but because needlework required silence. It required her to occupy the margins of grand rooms without participating in them. It allowed her to listen, to observe, to remain present without being perceived. Tonight she had broken her own rule. The ball at Halverton House was not her first. Anna had worked dozens of these events over the past 3 years, always in the background, always unnoticed. The household staff knew her as competent and unobtrusive. Lady Pembroke, who managed the estate's social functions, valued her for her speed and discretion. Anna mended torn lace, adjusted ill-fitting bodices, and ensured that the daughters of visiting dignitaries looked flawless under scrutiny. She did not speak unless spoken to. She certainly did not correct ambassadors. The evening had proceeded without incident until the 10th dance. Anna had been stationed near the refreshment tables, needle and thread concealed in her pocket, watching for wardrobe malfunctions. The German delegation had arrived late, their entrance marked by a flurry of bows and murmured introductions. The ambassador, a portly man with an ornate uniform and an air of self-importance, had immediately engaged the French envoy in conversation. Anna had not intended to listen. But German was her first language, the one her mother had spoken to her in private, the one that still felt like home in her thoughts. She could not help but hear the ambassador's words as he addressed the Frenchman in stilted, formal German, attempting to impress the gathered diplomats. Es ist mir ein Ihren Gestatten Herbotschafter zu begegnen, the ambassador declared, his accent thick but confident. Anna's hands stilled on the lace she had been examining. The phrasing was wrong. Not merely informal, but incorrect in a way that suggested the ambassador was addressing the French envoy as a subordinate rather than an equal. In a room filled with political tension and delicate alliances, the error was not trivial. It was an insult, however unintentional. Anna told herself to ignore it, to let the mistake pass unnoticed. But the French envoy's expression had already shifted, his polite smile cooling into something harder. The Austrian attaché standing nearby had also caught the error. His eyebrows lifted in faint surprise. The moment stretched. The ambassador continued speaking, oblivious. Anna stepped forward. She did not think. She simply moved, closing the distance between herself and the diplomatic cluster with the same quiet efficiency she used to approach a torn hem. Her voice, when she spoke, was soft but clear. Entschuldigung, Exzellenz. Ich glaube, Sie meinten Your Exzellenz, nicht Ihren Gestatten Herr. Excuse me, Your Excellency. I believe you meant to say Your Excellency, not Your esteemed Sir. The correction was precise, fluent, and delivered with the kind of educated diction that did not belong in the mouth of a seamstress. The ambassador blinked at her, startled. The French envoy's expression shifted again, this time into something resembling amusement. The Austrian attaché turned fully toward Anna, his gaze sharp and assessing. And then the music stopped. Anna did not know why the orchestra faltered. Perhaps the conductor had noticed the sudden silence spreading through the room like frost across glass. Perhaps he had simply paused between movements. But the effect was immediate and undeniable. Conversations died. Heads turned. Eyes found her. Anna felt the weight of their attention like a physical thing, pressing against her chest, stealing her breath. She had been invisible for so long that visibility felt like exposure, like standing naked in the center of the ballroom. The ambassador recovered first, his face flushing. "I see," he said stiffly, switching to English. "Thank you for the clarification." But the damage was done. The question was already forming in every mind around her. Who is she? Where did she learn to speak like that? Anna curtsied quickly, instinctively, and stepped back toward the shadows. But before she could retreat fully, a voice cut through the murmurs. "Miss Keller." The voice was calm, measured, and utterly commanding. It belonged to a man Anna had never spoken to directly, though she had seen him often enough during her work at Halverton House. Marcus Halverton, Duke of Halverton. He stood near the far side of the ballroom, his posture relaxed but his gaze fixed on her with unnerving intensity. He was tall, dark-haired, and carried himself with the kind of authority that did not require proclamation. People moved aside as he approached, not because he demanded it, but because his presence simply commanded space. Anna's heart hammered against her ribs. "Your Grace," she said quietly, keeping her eyes lowered. "A word, if you please." It was not a request. 2 footmen appeared at her sides, their expressions neutral but their positions unmistakable. They were not dragging her. They did not need to. The Duke had spoken, and Anna understood that refusal was not an option. She followed. The corridor beyond the ballroom was silent, the music and conversation fading behind them like a retreating tide. Anna's footsteps echoed against the marble floors, each sound a reminder of how far she was being taken from safety, from anonymity, from the only protection she had ever known. The Duke walked ahead, his pace unhurried. He did not look back at her. He did not speak. The silence felt deliberate, a tool rather than an absence. They stopped before a heavy oak door. The Duke opened it himself, stepping aside to allow Anna to enter first. She hesitated, her instincts screaming at her to run. But running would only confirm guilt, and she was not yet certain what she was being accused of. Anna stepped inside. The study was lined with books, floor to ceiling, their leather spines gleaming in the firelight. A desk dominated the center of the room, its surface covered with correspondence and maps. The air smelled of parchment, tobacco, and beeswax. The Duke entered behind her. The door closed with a soft click. The lock turned. Anna's breath caught. She forced herself to remain still, to keep her expression calm even as panic clawed at the edges of her composure. Marcus Halverton did not approach her. He moved to the desk instead, leaning against it with his arms crossed, studying her with the same intensity he had shown in the ballroom. "Where did you learn German?" he asked. The question was not what Anna had expected. She had braced herself for accusations of impropriety, of overstepping her station, of embarrassing his household in front of foreign dignitaries. But he was not angry. He was curious. That frightened her more. "My mother taught me, Your Grace," Anna said carefully. "Your mother." He repeated the words as though testing their weight. "And where did your mother learn?" Anna hesitated. The truth was dangerous. But lies, she suspected, would be more dangerous still. This man did not ask questions he did not already know the answers to. "She was educated in Vienna," Anna said. "She served as a companion to an English family before I was born." A companion. His tone remained neutral, but something shifted in his expression. Recognition, perhaps. Or suspicion. "And this family? Do you remember their name?" Anna's throat tightened. "No, Your Grace. My mother never spoke of them." It was not entirely a lie. Her mother had not spoken of them, not in detail. But Anna remembered fragments. A grand house. A child's laughter. Her mother's sudden, inexplicable absence. The Duke was silent for a long moment, his gaze never leaving her face. Anna felt exposed under that scrutiny, as though he could see past her carefully constructed walls into the truth she had spent years hiding. "You are lying," he said quietly. Anna's pulse spiked. "Your Grace, I—" "Not about everything." He raised a hand, cutting off her protest. "But you are withholding something. And I suspect you have good reason to." He pushed away from the desk, moving closer. Anna forced herself not to retreat, even as every instinct told her to run. "I am not your enemy, Miss Keller," he said. "But you have made yourself visible tonight in a way that will attract questions. Questions I suspect you cannot afford to answer publicly." Anna's hands clenched at her sides. "Then why lock the door, Your Grace?" "Because," Marcus said, his voice dropping, "I remember a woman who disappeared when I was 10 years old. A German companion to my mother. Intelligent, educated, and erased overnight for reasons no one would explain to a child." Anna's blood turned to ice. "I remember," he continued, "that she had a daughter. A little girl who vanished with her, as though neither of them had ever existed." The room seemed to tilt. Anna's vision blurred at the edges. "That was a long time ago," she whispered. "Yes," Marcus agreed. "But some silences are louder than words. And tonight, Miss Keller, you broke yours." He stepped back, giving her space to breathe. "You will remain here, under my protection, until I determine what danger you have placed yourself in. You will not return to your lodgings. You will not speak to anyone about tonight's events. And you will trust that I have reasons for keeping you close that have nothing to do with punishment." Anna stared at him, her mind racing. "And if I refuse?" "Then you will walk out of this house tonight and be gone by morning," Marcus said bluntly. "Dismissed, erased, and forgotten. Just like your mother." The threat hung between them, stark and undeniable. Anna knew she had no choice. "I will stay," she said quietly. Marcus nodded once, then moved to unlock the door. But before he opened it, he paused, glancing back at her. "Your mother?" he said. "What was her name?" Anna met his gaze, her voice steady despite the fear coiling in her chest. "Margaret," she said. "Margaret Keller." Something flickered across the Duke's face. Recognition. Grief. Anger. He said nothing. But Anna knew, with sudden, terrible certainty, that the past she had spent her life running from had finally caught up to her. And the man who held her fate in his hands had been shaped by the same silence that had destroyed her mother. Anna woke in a room that was not hers. The bed was too soft, the linens too fine, the silence too complete. For a disorienting moment she forgot where she was. Then memory returned with the weight of stone. The ballroom, the correction, the locked study, the Duke's face when she spoke her mother's name. She sat up slowly, taking in her surroundings. The guest room was modest by the standards of Halverton House, but it was still grander than any place Anna had lived in the past decade. A wardrobe stood against one wall, a writing desk near the window. Someone had laid out a fresh dress, simple but well-made, across the chair. Anna rose and moved to the window. Dawn light filtered through the glass, illuminating the manicured gardens below. Somewhere beyond those hedges lay the gate, the road, the possibility of escape. But escape to what? To whom? The Duke had been clear. If she left, she would be dismissed, erased, forgotten. The pattern would repeat itself. Anna would disappear just as her mother had, leaving no trace behind except whispers and speculation. She would not give them that satisfaction. A soft knock interrupted her thoughts. Anna turned as the door opened to reveal a young maid carrying a breakfast tray. "Good morning, miss," the girl said, setting the tray on the desk. "His Grace requests that you join him in the library at 10 o'clock. Requests. Anna understood the euphemism. "Thank you," she said quietly. The maid curtsied and left, closing the door behind her. Anna noted that the lock did not turn. She was not a prisoner, then. Not exactly. She was something else. Something undefined and therefore more dangerous. Anna ate mechanically, her mind racing through possibilities. The Duke claimed to remember her mother. He claimed to want to protect her. But men in power always claimed benevolent intentions when exerting control. Anna had learned not to trust declarations without examining the motives beneath them. What did Marcus Halverton want from her? At 10 o'clock precisely, Anna made her way to the library. The house was quiet, most of the guests from the previous night having departed early. She passed only a few servants, each of whom nodded respectfully but did not meet her eyes. Word had spread then. The seamstress who corrected an ambassador. The woman the Duke had locked in his study. Anna felt their curiosity like fingers plucking at her sleeves, trying to unravel the mystery she represented. The library doors stood open. Marcus sat at a large table near the window, surrounded by papers, ledgers, and correspondence. He looked up as she entered, his expression unreadable. "Miss Keller," he said, rising. "Please sit." Anna remained standing. "Am I to understand I am your guest, your Grace? Or your captive?" A flicker of something passed across his face. Approval, perhaps. "Neither. You are under my protection, which means you are confined to the estate until I determine the extent of the danger you face. Danger I face? Anna's voice sharpened. Or danger I pose to your household's reputation? Both, Marcus said bluntly. Sit down. We have much to discuss, and I dislike repeating myself. Anna considered refusing on principle, but pragmatism won. She sat, folding her hands in her lap, and waited. Marcus returned to his seat, studying her with that same unsettling intensity. I have spent the morning making inquiries, he said. Discreet ones. About your mother, about the circumstances of her departure from this house, about what became of her afterward. Anna's heart clenched. And what did you discover? Very little, Marcus admitted. Which itself tells me a great deal. Records have been removed. Payments made through intermediaries. Letters destroyed. Someone went to considerable trouble to ensure that Margaret Keller disappeared completely from the historical record. Why? The question escaped before Anna could stop it. Marcus leaned back in his chair, his gaze distant. That is what I intend to discover. But I remember fragments. Enough to know that her dismissal was sudden, unexplained, and carried out with the kind of efficiency that suggests political necessity rather than personal failing. He paused, then continued more quietly. I was 10 years old. My mother had been ill that winter, and Margaret attended her daily. She read to her in German, managed her correspondence, kept her spirits lifted when my father was occupied with Parliament. I liked her. She never spoke to me as though I were merely a child to be managed. She spoke to me as though my thoughts mattered. Anna's throat tightened. She could picture it. Her mother, young and vibrant, bringing intelligence and warmth into a cold household. Making the mistake of being seen, of being valued, of mattering too much. Then one morning she was gone, Marcus said. My mother would not speak of it. My father forbade questions. The servants knew nothing or claimed they knew nothing. It was as though Margaret had never existed. He met Anna's eyes. I did not understand then. But I understand now. She was removed to prevent complications. What kind of complications? Anna demanded. Marcus hesitated, choosing his words carefully. That winter my father was negotiating a treaty with Prussia. Delicate negotiations requiring absolute discretion. Margaret's presence, her education, her fluency in German. These were assets initially. But they became liabilities when certain parties questioned her loyalties, her connections, her influence over my mother. Anna's hands clenched. They accused her of espionage. They did not need proof, Marcus said grimly. Suspicion was enough. Better to remove her quietly than risk scandal. Better to erase her than defend her. The words hung between them, brutal in their honesty. Anna forced herself to breathe. And the child? What became of the child in your memory? I never knew, Marcus admitted. I assumed she had been sent away with her mother, wherever that was. I did not learn until much later that children of dismissed servants were sometimes placed separately, for their own protection or to prevent them from becoming inconvenient reminders of past mistakes. Anna's vision blurred. She blinked hard, refusing tears. My mother took me with her. We moved frequently, never staying anywhere long enough to establish connections. She continued my education in secret, teaching me languages, literature, mathematics. But she also taught me to hide what I knew, to become invisible. Until last night, Marcus said softly. Until last night, Anna echoed. Silence settled between them, heavy with shared understanding. Two children shaped by the same erasure, meeting across the distance of years and circumstance. Marcus broke the silence first. The ambassador whose error you corrected has made inquiries about you. Anna's stomach dropped. What kind of inquiries? He wants to know who you are, where you were educated, whether you might be available for employment as a translator. Marcus's expression darkened. The French envoy has also expressed interest, as has the Austrian attaché. They think I am an asset, Anna said slowly. They think you are a mystery worth solving, Marcus corrected. And mysteries attract attention. Attention attracts scrutiny. Scrutiny uncovers secrets. Anna stood abruptly, pacing to the window. Then I will leave. Tonight. I will disappear again and the questions will die with my absence. No. The word was flat, absolute. Anna spun to face him. You cannot keep me here against my will. I am not keeping you here, Marcus said, rising to face her. I am asking you to stay. There is a difference. Is there? Anna's voice shook with anger she had suppressed for too long. You locked me in your study. You confined me to the estate. You have made decisions about my safety without consulting my wishes. How is this different from what was done to my mother? Marcus flinched as though struck. Good, Anna thought savagely. Let him feel it. You are right, he said quietly. I have acted without your consent, and for that I apologize. But understand this, Miss Keller, I am not trying to control you. I am trying to prevent history from repeating itself. By making the same choices? Anna challenged. By making better ones, Marcus countered. He moved closer, though he kept careful distance between them. I was powerless as a child. I could not protect Margaret. I could not even ask questions without being silenced. But I am not powerless now. And I will not stand by while another intelligent woman is erased for political convenience. Anna searched his face, looking for deception, for hidden motives, for the control men always disguised as care. But what she found instead was something raw and honest. Regret. Determination. A child's helpless grief hardened into an adult's purposeful resolve. What are you proposing? She asked carefully. A partnership, Marcus said. Not protection granted from above, but collaboration built on equal ground. I have resources, influence, access to records that have been hidden. You have knowledge, insight into your mother's history that I lack. Together we can uncover the truth of what happened. And once we know the truth, we can decide how to wield it. Anna wanted to refuse. Every instinct she had cultivated over years of survival screamed at her to run, to disappear, to trust no one, especially not powerful men who claimed they wanted to help. But another part of her, the part that still remembered her mother's voice teaching her German verbs, the part that had spent a decade hiding intelligence like a shameful secret, that part wanted answers. She wanted to know why her mother had been sacrificed. She wanted to know who had made that decision and whether they had ever regretted it. She wanted to understand the machinery that had crushed her childhood and determine whether it could be dismantled. If I agree, Anna said slowly, I will not be kept in the dark. I will have access to any information you uncover. I will participate in decisions that affect my future. And if I determine at any point that remaining here poses more danger than leaving, I will go, and you will not stop me. Marcus nodded. Agreed. And you will not make promises you cannot keep, Anna continued. You will not pretend you can protect me from forces neither of us fully understand. You will be honest about risks, limitations, and consequences. I will, Marcus said. Anna studied him for a long moment, weighing trust against suspicion, hope against experience. Finally, she extended her hand. Then we have an agreement, Your Grace. Marcus took her hand, his grip firm but not possessive. Marcus, he said. If we are to be partners, I think we can dispense with excessive formality. Anna felt something shift between them, a wall lowering just enough to allow tentative alliance. Very well, she said. Marcus. His name felt strange on her tongue, intimate and dangerous. Before either could speak further, a sharp knock interrupted them. Marcus released her hand and turned toward the door. Enter. A footman appeared, his expression tight with concern. Your Grace, Lord Cooper is here. He insists on speaking with you immediately regarding last night's incident. Marcus's jaw tightened. Tell him I will receive him shortly. The footman bowed and withdrew. Anna felt the fragile peace shatter. Lord Ashford. A political ally of my father's, Marcus said grimly, and one of the men who would have been most concerned about Margaret's presence during the treaty negotiations. Understanding dawned cold and clear. He was involved in her dismissal. Almost certainly, Marcus confirmed. And now he has heard about you. Anna's pulse quickened. The past was not buried. It was rising, demanding recognition, threatening to consume them both. What will you tell him? She asked. Marcus met her eyes, and in that gaze Anna saw the same determination that had brought her to this moment, the same refusal to accept erasure as inevitable. The truth, he said. Carefully edited, strategically deployed, but the truth nonetheless. That you are under my protection. That questions about your background are unwelcome. That any attempt to remove you from this house will be met with opposition. That will create scandal, Anna warned. Yes, Marcus agreed. It will. He moved toward the door, then paused, glancing back at her. Are you prepared for what comes next, Anna? She thought of her mother, disappeared without explanation. She thought of years spent hiding, diminishing herself, living half a life in the margins. She thought of the locked study and the choice Marcus had given her. Erasure or visibility, silence or voice. I am, Anna said. And she meant it. The door closed behind Marcus, leaving Anna alone with the weight of commitment and the gathering storm of consequence. Whatever came next, she would face it with her eyes open and her voice ready. She would not disappear. Not again. Lord Cooper did not look like a man who erased people. He looked distinguished, genial even, with silver hair and a practiced smile that suggested decades of diplomatic maneuvering. He sat in Marcus's receiving room as though he owned it, one leg crossed over the other, his posture radiating the confidence of a man accustomed to getting his way. Anna watched from the gallery above, concealed behind a decorative screen that allowed her to observe without being seen. Marcus had not asked her to hide, but she had chosen to. Sometimes invisibility was a weapon rather than a weakness. "I understand you've taken an interest in the young woman who caused such a stir at your ball," Cooper said, his tone carefully neutral. Marcus stood by the window, his back to his visitor, seemingly absorbed in the view of the gardens. "Miss Keller is employed by my household. Her conduct was unusual but not inappropriate." "Unusual," Cooper repeated, tasting the word. "That's a diplomatic way of describing it." The German ambassador was quite taken aback. "He has questions about her education, her background, her connections." "He may direct those questions to me," Marcus said without turning. "I will decline to answer them." Pause. Anna could almost feel Cooper calculating his approach. "Marcus," the older man said, his tone shifting toward something more paternal, "I served your father for many years. I knew him as a friend as well as a colleague. He would want me to counsel you in matters that might affect your standing, your political future." "My father is dead," Marcus said flatly. "His concerns are no longer relevant." "But yours should be," Cooper pressed. "You are young, intelligent, positioned to inherit significant political influence. But influence requires careful cultivation. It requires avoiding entanglements that might compromise your credibility." Marcus finally turned, his expression cold. "You believe Miss Keller is an entanglement." "I believe she is a mystery," Cooper corrected. "And mysteries make powerful men nervous. They wonder what you're hiding. They wonder why you would risk scandal for a seamstress who speaks German like an educated woman from Vienna." The specificity of that statement made Anna's blood run cold. Cooper knew. Perhaps not everything, but enough to understand the implications. Marcus evidently reached the same conclusion. "What do you want, Ashford?" "I want to help you avoid a mistake," Cooper said simply. "Send the girl away. Quietly, generously. Provide her with a pension, a new position somewhere distant. Let the gossip die naturally. Within a month, no one will remember her name." "Except her," Marcus said softly. Cooper frowned. "I beg your pardon?" "She will remember," Marcus said. "She will remember being dismissed, displaced, erased. Just as her mother remembered. Just as I remember." The words hung in the air, heavy with accusation. Ashford's expression hardened. "You were a child. You did not understand the necessities involved." "I understood that an innocent woman was destroyed to serve political convenience," Marcus said. "I understand it even better now." "Margaret Keller was not innocent," Cooper said sharply. "She was a complication. Her presence in this house during delicate negotiations created vulnerabilities that could not be tolerated. Your father made the only rational choice available to him." "My father made a choice that haunted him until he died," Marcus countered. "I found his journals. I know what it cost him." Anna's breath caught. Marcus had not mentioned journals before. Cooper stood, his patience evidently exhausted. "Then you know why this cannot happen again. Send the daughter away, Marcus. Do not compound your father's regret with your own." "No." The word was simple, final. Cooper stared at him. "You are making a grave error." "Perhaps," Marcus acknowledged. "But it will be my error, not a repetition of my father's." The older man's face flushed with anger barely contained. "The ambassador will not let this rest. The French envoy is already asking questions. If they discover who she is, what her mother was accused of." "Accused?" Marcus interrupted. "Not proven. Never proven." "Proof is irrelevant to reputation," Cooper snapped. "You know this. Your father knew this. Margaret Keller's daughter represents everything he worked to bury. If you insist on keeping her here, you will resurrect a scandal that will destroy your political future before it begins." "Then I will face that consequence," Marcus said quietly. "But I will not disappear another woman to preserve my comfort." Cooper studied him for a long moment, then shook his head. "You are more your mother's son than your father's. She too chose sentiment over pragmatism. It made her weak." "It made her human," Marcus corrected. "A quality you seem to have misplaced, Ashford." The insult landed with precision. Ashford's mouth tightened into a thin line. He collected his hat and gloves with sharp, angry movements. "I came here as a friend," he said. I will leave as a concerned observer. What happens next is your responsibility." He departed without further courtesy, the door closing behind him with restrained force. Anna waited until his footsteps faded before emerging from the gallery. She descended the stairs slowly, her mind racing through implications and consequences. Marcus had not moved from his position by the window. He stood rigid, his shoulders tight with tension. "How much did you hear?" he asked without turning. "All of it," Anna said. She crossed the room to stand beside him, maintaining careful distance. "You should have agreed to his proposal." "No, Marcus." "No," he repeated, finally turning to face her. His expression was fierce, uncompromising. "I will not send you away. I will not participate in the same machinery that destroyed your mother. And I will not allow men like Cooper to dictate what is right through fear and manipulation." Anna's chest tightened. "Your political future is meaningless if purchased through injustice," Marcus finished. "Anna, I have resources, position, influence that most men would kill to possess. What good are they if I use them only to perpetuate the same cruelties that shaped my childhood?" "Noble words," Anna said softly. "But nobility does not protect you from consequence. Cooper will act. The ambassadors will investigate. They will uncover connections, construct narratives, create scandal whether or not the truth supports it. Then we will counter with truth," Marcus said. "We will find the evidence that proves your mother's innocence. We will expose the political maneuvering that destroyed her reputation. We will make it impossible for them to repeat the pattern." Anna wanted to believe him. She wanted to trust that truth mattered, that justice could be won, that the powerful could be held accountable for their cruelties. But she had seen too much erasure to believe in easy victories. "And if we fail?" she asked quietly. Marcus met her eyes, and in them she saw something that made her breath catch. Determination mixed with something warmer, something that had nothing to do with duty and everything to do with choice. "Then we fail together," he said. "But we will not fail silently." The days that followed developed a rhythm born of necessity. Marcus spent hours in his father's study, excavating correspondence, journals, and financial records from the year of Margaret's dismissal. Anna joined him when her presence would not attract household gossip, reading through documents with the fluency her mother had given her, searching for patterns in the careful omissions. They worked late into the night, the study lit by candlelight, the rest of the house sleeping around them. It felt clandestine, this shared investigation. It felt dangerous in ways that had nothing to do with politics. Anna became aware of Marcus in ways she had not allowed herself before. The way he rubbed his temples when frustrated. The way his voice softened when he read passages from his father's journals that revealed the man's private anguish. The way he listened when she spoke, truly listened, as though her words carried weight equal to his own. She had never been listened to like that before. "Here," Marcus said one night, pushing a leather-bound journal across the desk. 3 months before your mother's dismissal. My father writes about the treaty negotiations. He mentions concerns raised by Cooper about security, about potential intelligence leaks." Anna scanned the entry, her German fluency making translation unnecessary. "He does not name my mother." "Not directly," Marcus agreed. "But look at the dates. The concerns began the week after Margaret was asked to translate a confidential document from the Prussian delegation." Anna's pulse quickened. "What kind of document?" "A proposal for trade concessions that would have significantly disadvantaged British merchants," Marcus said. "The contents were meant to remain private until counteroffers could be developed. But somehow, details leaked to the French envoy before negotiations concluded." "And my mother was blamed," Anna said slowly. "Not publicly," Marcus clarified. "But privately, Cooper and others convinced my father that she represented a security risk, that her loyalty was questionable, that her connections to Vienna made her susceptible to foreign influence." Anna set the journal down, her hands trembling. "Was there any evidence? Any proof she leaked information?" "None that I can find," Marcus said. "Only suspicion and convenient timing. But in politics, suspicion is often sufficient for condemnation." They sat in silence, the weight of historical injustice pressing down on them. "My mother never spoke of this," Anna said finally. "She never defended herself, never explained what happened. She only taught me to hide, to stay small, to never draw attention. Because she knew that defending herself would be futile," Marcus said quietly. "Once powerful men decide you are a problem, truth becomes irrelevant. Your mother understood that. She chose survival over vindication. And I am choosing differently," Anna said. Marcus looked at her, something unreadable in his expression. Yes, you are. The air between them felt charged, heavy with things unspoken. Anna was suddenly, acutely aware of how close they sat, how intimate this late-night investigation had become, how easily partnership could shift into something more complicated. She stood abruptly, needing distance. It is late. I should retire. Marcus rose as well, though he made no move to follow her. Anna. She paused at the door, not quite turning. You are not your mother, he said. You do not have to accept the same ending. Anna closed her eyes. And you are not your father. You do not have to inherit his regrets. Then perhaps we can write a different story, Marcus said softly. Anna did not trust herself to answer. She left the study, her heart pounding with feelings she refused to name. The threat arrived 3 days later. Anna was reading in the library when Marcus entered, his face grim, a letter clutched in his hand. What is it? She asked, setting her book aside. Marcus handed her the letter without preamble. From the German ambassador. Via Ashford. Anna read quickly, her stomach sinking with each line. The ambassador expressed concern about irregularities in Miss Keller's background. He suggested that a woman of her education and linguistic ability might be better employed in diplomatic service, where her talents could be properly utilized and supervised. He offered to facilitate such a position, noting that it would remove any awkwardness from the Duke's household while ensuring Miss Keller's skills were not wasted. The language was polite. The threat was unmistakable. They want to control me, Anna said flatly. They want to contain the problem you represent, Marcus corrected. If you work for them, they can monitor you, limit what you say, ensure you do not become a liability. Anna crushed the letter in her fist. And if I refuse? Then they will investigate further, Marcus said. They will uncover your connection to Margaret. They will construct whatever narrative serves their purposes. They will make you exactly what they accused your mother of being. A foreign agent, a security risk, a woman whose presence threatens diplomatic stability. Anna paced to the window, rage and fear warring inside her. So I have no choice. I disappear voluntarily into their service, or I am forcibly disappeared through scandal. There is a third option, Marcus said carefully. Anna turned to face him. Which is? I publicly claim responsibility for your presence, Marcus said. I make it clear that you are here under my protection at my invitation, and that any action taken against you will be viewed as an action taken against me personally. Anna stared at him. That would tie your reputation to mine. When the scandal breaks, and it will break, Marcus, you will fall with me. I am aware of the consequences, Marcus said. Are you? Anna demanded. You will lose political allies. You will lose credibility. You will be questioned, investigated, potentially ostracized. Your family name, your father's legacy, everything you have inherited will be jeopardized. Yes, Marcus said simply. Anna wanted to argue further, to make him understand the magnitude of what he was offering to sacrifice. But the look in his eyes stopped her. He knew. He understood completely. And he was choosing her anyway. Not because he sought to control her. Not because he wanted to own her gratitude or her obligation. But because it was right. Because history should not repeat. Because someone needed to stand in the path of erasure and refuse to move. Why? Anna whispered. Marcus crossed the space between them slowly, giving her time to retreat if she wished. She did not move. Because you matter, he said. Because your mother mattered. Because intelligent women should not be sacrificed to protect political convenience. Because I have resources and position that mean nothing if I do not use them to correct injustice. He paused, his expression softening. And because you have become important to me in ways I did not anticipate. Anna's breath caught. Marcus, I am not asking for anything in return, he said quickly. I'm not claiming affection you may not feel. I'm simply stating fact. You are under my protection because I choose to protect you. Not from obligation. Not from pity. But from recognition of your worth and refusal to see it diminished. Anna felt tears prick her eyes. She blinked them back furiously. If you do this, there is no retreat. Once you make this public, the consequences cannot be undone. I know, Marcus said. You will be choosing me over your political future, Anna pressed. I will be choosing justice over ambition, Marcus corrected. There is a difference. Anna searched his face, looking for doubt, for hesitation, for the moment when self-preservation would reassert itself. She found only steady resolve. I will not accept protection that makes me a possession, she said quietly. I will not become a woman you saved, a story you tell to prove your nobility. I will remain my own person with my own voice, my own choices. I would not ask for anything less, Marcus said. Anna took a shaking breath. Then do it. Make your statement. Claim your position. And we will face whatever comes together. Marcus smiled, and it transformed his face from stern authority into something warmer, something that made Anna's heart stutter in her chest. Together, he agreed. The announcement was made the following morning. Marcus summoned the ambassadors, Lord Ashford, and several key political figures to Halverton House. Anna stood beside him in the receiving room, visible, present, undeniable. Gentlemen, Marcus said, his voice carrying the weight of centuries of aristocratic authority, I understand there have been questions about Miss Anna Keller's presence in my household. Allow me to provide clarity. He did not look at Anna, but she felt his solidarity like warmth against her skin. Miss Keller is here at my express invitation and under my direct protection. Her education, her talents, and her character are beyond reproach. Any suggestion otherwise is both factually incorrect and personally insulting. Cooper shifted uncomfortably. The German ambassador's expression darkened. Furthermore, Marcus continued, any attempt to remove Miss Keller from this estate, to coerce her into alternative employment, or to damage her reputation through rumor or investigation will be met with my full opposition. I will use every resource at my disposal to defend her, and I will consider such attempts as attacks upon my household and my judgment. The silence that followed was absolute. The German ambassador recovered first. Your Grace, surely you understand the delicate nature of diplomatic relations. Miss Keller's background raises legitimate questions, which you have no right to pursue, Marcus interrupted. Miss Keller is a British subject under the protection of a peer of the realm. Your jurisdiction ends at my estate's boundaries. This is highly irregular, Cooper said, his voice tight with barely suppressed anger. Yes, Marcus agreed. It is. Just as my mother's companion's dismissal was irregular. Just as the erasure of innocent women for political convenience has been irregular throughout history. I am correcting that irregularity. Anna felt the room shift, the balance of power realigning. Marcus had not merely claimed protection. He had declared war on the machinery that had destroyed her mother. And he had done so publicly, irrevocably, tying his future to hers. The ambassadors departed shortly after, their expressions ranging from confusion to outrage. Cooper lingered, his gaze moving between Marcus and Anna. You have made your choice, he said finally. God help you both. He left without waiting for response. The door closed. The house fell silent. Anna turned to Marcus, her emotions too complex for words. It is done, he said quietly. Yes, Anna agreed. And now the real danger begins. Marcus met her eyes, and in them she saw no regret. Only determination, affection barely restrained, and the fierce pride of a man who had finally corrected a childhood wrong. Then we face it, he said. Together. Anna nodded, her throat too tight for speech. Outside the window, storm clouds gathered on the horizon. The reckoning was coming. The scandal broke 3 days after Marcus's public declaration, but not in the way anyone expected. Anna was in the library when Marcus found her, his expression carefully controlled but his eyes bright with something that might have been triumph. I have found it, he said without preamble. Anna set down the book she had been pretending to read. Found what? Marcus closed the door behind him and crossed to where she sat, carrying a slim leather portfolio. Proof. Incontrovertible, documented proof that your mother was innocent of the accusations made against her. Anna's heart stuttered. How? Marcus opened the portfolio, spreading documents across the table between them. My father's private correspondence. Not the official journals I showed you before, but personal letters he kept locked away. Letters he wrote but never sent, confessions meant for no one but himself. He selected one document, its edges yellowed with age, the handwriting precise and controlled. This was written 2 weeks after your mother's dismissal. My father details a conversation with Cooper in which Cooper admitted the leak came not from Margaret, but from a clerk in the Foreign Office who had gambling debts and French connections. Anna's breath caught. Then why? Because exposing the clerk would have revealed security vulnerabilities in the Foreign Office itself, Marcus said grimly. It would have embarrassed powerful men, complicated the treaty negotiations, created a scandal that might have toppled the government. Blaming your mother was simpler, cleaner. She had no powerful family to defend her, no political connections to demand investigation. Anna took the letter with trembling hands, reading her mother's vindication in the careful script of a man who had lived with guilt for years. My father knew, she whispered. He knew she was innocent, and he allowed her to be destroyed anyway. Yes, Marcus said quietly. And it haunted him until he died. These letters are filled with regret, with self-recrimination, with a question he could never answer. How does a man live with himself after sacrificing the innocent for political expediency? Anna's eyes burned. Why did he not speak? Why did he not correct the record? Because by the time he had the power to do so safely, your mother had disappeared, Marcus said. He searched for her, quietly, through intermediaries. He wanted to provide restitution, compensation, some acknowledgement of the injustice. But Margaret had learned to hide too well. She had made herself unfindable. To protect me, Anna said, understanding flooding through her. She knew that any connection to the scandal, even vindication, would put me at risk. So she stayed invisible. Marcus nodded. She sacrificed justice for your safety. Just as you almost sacrificed your voice for invisibility. The parallel was not lost on Anna. Mother and daughter both taught that survival required silence, both shaped by the same machinery of erasure. But Anna was choosing differently. And now Marcus was giving her the tools to do so. There is more, Marcus said, selecting another document. Financial records showing payments made to the French envoy's assistant. The same assistant who somehow obtained information about the trade negotiations. And correspondence between Cooper and the Prussian delegation that confirms the leak occurred before your mother ever translated the confidential document. Anna stared at the evidence laid before her, years of injustice documented in ink and paper. This proves my mother's innocence completely. It does, Marcus agreed. And it implicates men who still hold positions of power. Men who would very much prefer this information remain buried. Anna looked up at him sharply. You said you found a way to expose the injustice without endangering me. How is this not dangerous? Marcus smiled, and there was something almost predatory in the expression. Because I am not going to expose it. You are. Anna blinked. What? Marcus sat down across from her, leaning forward with the intensity of a man who had been planning this for days. The ambassador and Cooper have leverage over us because they control the narrative. They can paint you as suspicious, your mother as a traitor, our alliance as inappropriate. But if we seize control of the narrative ourselves, if we expose the truth on our terms, their leverage disappears. I do not understand, Anna said slowly. There is a gathering tomorrow night, Marcus explained. A small but influential dinner party hosted by Lady Pemberton. Foreign envoys, political figures, society leaders. The exact audience that has been whispering about you, speculating about your background, questioning your presence in my household. Anna's stomach tightened. You want me to attend? I want you to speak, Marcus corrected. Not as my ward, not as someone under my protection, but as yourself. As the daughter of Margaret Keller, a woman wrongly accused and deliberately erased. I want you to present this evidence, to tell your mother's story, to claim the truth that was stolen from her. Anna's mind raced. They will question everything. They will demand proof, challenge my claims. Which is why I will provide corroboration, Marcus said. I will present my father's letters, his confession of complicity, his documentation of the actual source of the leak. I will make it impossible for them to dismiss your testimony as the grievance of a bitter daughter. And Ashford? Anna asked. The men implicated in this conspiracy? Will have two choices, Marcus said coldly. Accept the truth and face the consequences of their actions, or deny it and face public examination of their conduct. Either way they lose their power over us. Anna stood, pacing to the window, her thoughts churning. Everything in her training screamed caution. Visibility meant danger. Speaking meant exposure. Claiming truth meant making herself a target. But silence meant erasure. And she had promised herself, promised her mother's memory, that she would not disappear. If I do this, Anna said slowly, there is no retreat. My identity, my history, my mother's story, all of it becomes public knowledge. Yes, Marcus agreed. I will be examined, questioned, judged by people who have spent their lives believing women like my mother are inherently suspicious. Yes, Marcus said again. Anna turned to face him. And you? What does this cost you? Marcus rose, crossing to stand beside her. Nothing I am not willing to pay. Anna, I made my choice when I stood beside you publicly. My reputation is already tied to yours. The only question now is whether we allow others to define that connection, or whether we define it ourselves. Anna studied his face, searching for doubt, for hesitation, for the moment when self-preservation would reassert itself. She found only steady determination and something warmer, something that made her heart ache with possibility. "I am afraid," she admitted quietly. "So am I," Marcus said. "But I am more afraid of living the rest of my life knowing I allowed history to repeat itself when I had the power to stop it." Anna took a shaking breath. "Then I will do it. I will speak. I will tell my mother's story. And I will claim the truth that was stolen from us both." Marcus's expression softened with something that looked like pride. "You are remarkable, Anna Keller." "I am terrified," Anna corrected, but she smiled despite herself. "Remarkable and terrified are not mutually exclusive," Marcus said gently. The dinner party at Lady Pemberton's townhouse was smaller than the diplomatic ball had been, but far more dangerous. Anna arrived on Marcus's arm, dressed in a gown that was elegant without being ostentatious, her hair arranged simply. She looked like exactly what she was, an educated woman of modest means, present by invitation rather than accident. The other guests watched her arrival with barely concealed curiosity. The German ambassador was there, as was the French envoy. Lord Cooper sat near the fire, his expression unreadable. Lady Pemberton herself greeted them with careful courtesy, clearly uncertain what scandal she was hosting but too politically astute to refuse Marcus's request to attend. Dinner proceeded with strained normalcy. Conversation touched on safe topics: the weather, upcoming parliamentary sessions, minor society gossip. But tension simmered beneath every exchange, everyone aware that something significant was about to occur. When the final course was cleared and port was being poured, Marcus stood. "Lady Pemberton, honored guests," he said, his voice cutting through the murmured conversations. "I apologize for the irregularity, but I have requested this gathering for a specific purpose. There is a matter of historical injustice that requires correction, and it can no longer wait for private resolution." The room fell silent. All eyes turned toward him. Marcus did not look at Anna, but she felt his solidarity like an anchor. 27 years ago, a woman named Margaret Keller served as companion to my late mother. She was educated, fluent in multiple languages, and trusted with sensitive diplomatic correspondence during a period of delicate treaty negotiations with Prussia. Cooper shifted in his seat, his jaw tightening. "When information from those negotiations leaked to foreign interests," Marcus continued, "Miss Keller was blamed. She was dismissed without investigation, her reputation destroyed, her livelihood eliminated. She disappeared with her young daughter, and both were effectively erased from society." The German ambassador leaned forward, his expression sharp. "Your Grace, this is a serious accusation." "It is not an accusation," Marcus interrupted smoothly. "It is documented fact. And it is incomplete without the voice of the woman most affected by these events." He turned to Anna, extending his hand. "Miss Anna Keller, daughter of Margaret Keller, has agreed to share her testimony. I ask that you afford her the courtesy of your attention." Anna rose, her legs unsteady but her resolve firm. She did not take Marcus's hand, she needed to stand on her own for this, but she felt his support like warmth against her spine. She moved to stand where all could see her, where her voice would carry, where she could meet their eyes without flinching. "My mother died 3 years ago," Anna began, her voice quiet but clear. "She died in poverty, in obscurity, still carrying the shame of accusations she could not defend against because she was never given the opportunity." She paused, letting the weight of that injustice settle over the room. "I was 11 years old when we were forced to leave Halverton House. I did not understand why. My mother would not explain, would only tell me that we needed to disappear, to hide what we knew, to make ourselves invisible. So I learned to sew. I learned to occupy the margins of rooms like this one, to hear without being heard, to know without being known." Anna's gaze found the German ambassador. "At the Duke's ball, I corrected your German instinctively, forgetting myself for a moment. That single act of visibility set in motion the very pattern my mother feared. Investigation, suspicion, the assumption that an educated woman without powerful connections must be dangerous." "Miss Keller," the French envoy said carefully, "surely you understand that your mother's dismissal, however unfortunate, was a matter of state security." "It was a matter of political convenience," Anna interrupted, her voice hardening. "My mother was innocent. The leak that destroyed her reputation came not from her, but from a clerk in your own foreign office who sold information to your government." Shocked silence. Anna reached into her reticule and withdrew copies of the documents Marcus had found, distributing them around the table. "These are letters written by the late Duke of Halverton, admitting knowledge of my mother's innocence and documenting the actual source of the leak. He knew. Lord Cooper knew. The men who negotiated that treaty knew. But it was simpler to blame a woman with no voice than to expose institutional vulnerabilities. Cooper stood abruptly. This is preposterous. Private letters written in grief cannot be considered reliable evidence. Then examine the financial records, Anna said coldly, producing another document. Payments made from the French delegation to the clerk in question. Correspondence confirming dates and details that prove the information was obtained before my mother ever saw the confidential documents she was accused of leaking. She met Ashford's eyes directly, refusing to be intimidated. You sacrificed an innocent woman to protect political interests. You erased her from history as though she had never existed. And when her daughter appeared, you attempted to repeat the pattern. This is highly inappropriate, the German ambassador sputtered. Your Grace, surely you cannot condone this disruption. I not only condone it, I support it completely, Marcus said, his voice cutting through the protests. My father lived with the guilt of his complicity in this injustice until his death. I will not inherit that burden. Miss Keller deserves vindication. Her mother deserves vindication. And the men who perpetrated this injustice deserve to face the truth of what they have done. Lady Pemberton, who had been silent throughout, spoke for the first time. Is this true, Lord Ashford? Did you knowingly destroy an innocent woman's reputation? Ashford's face flushed with anger and something that might have been shame. The situation was more complex than these documents suggest. There were considerations of state security, diplomatic relationships. There were considerations of convenience, Anna interrupted. And my mother paid the price for your convenience with her entire life. The room erupted in murmured conversations, arguments, denials. But Anna stood firm, her voice finally claimed, her mother's truth finally spoken. Marcus moved to stand beside her, not in front, not as her protector but as her equal, her ally, her partner in this act of historical correction. The French envoy was the first to concede. If these documents are authentic, he said slowly, then a grave injustice was indeed perpetrated. One that my government may have inadvertently benefited from. The documents are authentic, Marcus said. I have the originals available for examination by any neutral party you care to designate. Slowly, reluctantly, the tide turned. Not everyone was convinced. Cooper remained defiant, the German ambassador skeptical. But enough influential voices acknowledged the possibility of wrongdoing that the narrative shifted. Anna was no longer suspicious. She was vindicated. Her mother was no longer a traitor. She was a victim. And the men who had built careers on that injustice were suddenly vulnerable to scrutiny they had long avoided. The gathering dispersed shortly after, the guests departing with much to discuss and more to investigate. Lady Pemberton approached Anna before she left, her expression thoughtful. That took considerable courage, Miss Keller, she said quietly. It took 27 years, Anna replied. Lady Pemberton smiled faintly. Nevertheless, you have my respect and my condolences for what your family endured. It was not absolution, but it was acknowledgement. And acknowledgement was more than Anna had dared hope for. Marcus escorted her back to Halverton House in silence, both of them too drained for conversation. But when they reached the estate, instead of retiring immediately, Marcus led her to his study. The same room where he had locked her in after the ball. The same room where this entire reckoning had begun. Marcus opened the door, then stepped back, allowing Anna to enter first. He did not lock it behind them. It is finished, he said quietly. Anna moved to the window, looking out at gardens illuminated by moonlight. The scandal will persist for some time. There will be investigations, questions, people who refuse to believe the truth despite evidence. Yes, Marcus agreed. But the narrative has changed. You are no longer a mystery to be solved. You are a woman who spoke truth to power and survived. Anna turned to face him. We survived. You stood beside me when you could have protected yourself by stepping away. I could not have lived with myself if I had, Marcus said simply. Silence settled between them, comfortable now, the product of partnership forged through crisis and trust built through shared purpose. Anna, Marcus said finally, his voice careful, I want you to know that you are free to leave if you wish. I claimed responsibility for your presence to protect you, but I do not claim ownership of your future. You have independence, vindication, and resources. I will ensure you have financial security regardless of your choice. You can go anywhere, do anything, become whoever you wish to be. Anna's heart constricted. And if I wish to stay? Marcus's expression shifted, hope and restraint warring in his features. Then I would be honored by your presence. Not as someone under my protection, but as someone who chooses to be here. Anna crossed the space between them slowly, deliberately. I choose to stay. Not because I need protection or because I owe you gratitude, but because you are the first person who has ever seen me completely and not required me to diminish myself to be acceptable. She reached up, touching his face gently. You gave me my voice back, Marcus, and I choose to use it to say that I love you. Not from obligation, not from dependence, but from recognition of who you are and what we have built together. Marcus's breath caught. Anna? You do not need to say it back, Anna said quickly. I am not demanding. Marcus kissed her, cutting off her words with the kind of desperate tenderness that spoke more clearly than any declaration. When he pulled back, his eyes were bright with emotion barely contained. I love you, he said fiercely. I have loved you since you refused to accept protection that cost your independence. Since you demanded partnership instead of rescue. Since you stood in Lady Pemberton's parlor and claimed your truth with courage I can only aspire to. Anna smiled, tears sliding down her cheeks. Then perhaps we can build something new. Not repetition of old patterns but deliberate choice. Love claimed freely, trust earned honestly. Yes, Marcus said, pulling her close. That is precisely what I want. They stood together in the study that had once been a locked room, a place of interrogation and fear. But now it was transformed into something else. A place of mutual trust, shared purpose, and love chosen deliberately. Outside, dawn was breaking over the estate, light spilling across the gardens, illuminating paths forward that had not existed before. History had been corrected. Justice, imperfect but real, had been claimed. And two people shaped by erasure had chosen visibility, partnership, and love. Not because circumstance demanded it, but because they recognized in each other the possibility of becoming whole. The Duke and the Seamstress. The man who corrected history and the woman who refused to be erased. Together they would write a different ending. One where love was not imposed or demanded, but freely, deliberately, courageously chosen. Thank you for following this story. If you enjoyed Anna and Marcus's journey from erasure to visibility, from silence to voice, from historical injustice to deliberate love, please like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments. What moment resonated most with you? Let me know below.